Today we're going to talk about bar graphs and dot plots. Okay, so the first two definitions, we have a bar graph, a graph that shows the number of items in a specific category. I know that's a very broad definition, so I've printed out a visual. So you've got a bar graph here and a dot plot here. A dot plot is a graph that shows the frequency of data with a number line. Okay, obviously you can see the distance, and the names are pretty self-explanatory. We use bars on the bar graph, dots on the dot plot, but yes, we use a number line. Okay, and so both of these graphs or plots, I have it here. You may use either of these to make part-to-whole comparisons. So we've got other terms for that part-to-whole comparisons. We've got ratio and fraction, okay, that we've heard before. Usually the bar graph has numbers on the side here, and then we've got categories at the bottom, and then you've got categories, and then we place dots above those. Okay, it'll be a little clearer once we get into the examples. So our first example, okay, it is a bar graph. Okay, so we've got here average, I want to say annual rainfall in Texas. I need to add that. Average annual rainfall in Texas, and we've got three different cities that they're referring to. So we got Lubbock, Ector, and Austin. Okay, and it says that these bars represent the rainfall in inches. Okay, so the first thing I want to do as a student is recognize what each of these bars represent. Okay, so at Lubbock, it looks like we've got 0, 10, 20, 30, 40. So each of these lines represents 10 inches. Okay, based on what we just found here. Okay, so Lubbock looks like it goes all the way up to 20 inches. So Lubbock, its average annual rainfall in Lubbock is 20 inches based off of this graph. Okay, so I'm just going to note it there. That way that I don't mistake any other numbers. Okay, so Ector's rainfall average looks like 10, 20, 30, 40 inches average annually. Okay, in Austin, last one. Austin is 10, 20, 30, and it looks like it goes about halfway between these two lines of 30 and 40. So we're going to call it 35. Okay? Alright, so our first question, once we've established what each bar represents, our first question is we're comparing the total rainfall to the average in Ector. Okay? So we need to find the total rainfall first. Okay, total should be your trigger word. And the average in Ector. So we know we're using our total and we're using Ectors. Okay, so our total. So what we need to do is just add these up. 40 plus 20 plus 35. Okay. Yep, that makes our total 95. So our total is 95. Okay, we're comparing. I told you those comparisons can be a ratio, fraction. I'm going to go ahead and make a fraction. Okay, our total to our average in Ector. Okay, so our average in Ector is 40. Okay, and what we want to do is just calculate that, our fraction. We want to reduce if we can. Okay, when we reduce, we get 19 over 8. Okay, so that's our reduced fraction. Okay, but I also want to find different ways of showing that. So I'm going to try to get a decimal. So once I get that, or a whole number in a decimal, once I find that and I simplify, I'm going to divide to get that in a whole number. Okay, and I want you rounding to the nearest tenth. Okay, rounding to the nearest tenth. So off of that, we've got our fraction. Once we reduce, we get 2 point, and when we round to the nearest tenth, we get 2.4. So that means that our total rainfall of these three cities, okay, compared to the average in Ector, the total is 2 times, or almost 2.5 times, as more than Ector. Okay, so number 2, write off a ratio that compares Lubbock to Austin. Okay, and I want you to compare in the order it comes. So in number 1, we compare the total rainfall first, so we put that on the top of our fraction or at the beginning. Okay, and the average of Ector would be on bottom or second. Okay, so write a ratio that compares Lubbock to Austin. So I'm going to find Lubbock first, 20, okay, and Austin, which is 35. Okay, so when we compare, like I said again, you can reduce and divide 20 and 35. When we reduce that, we get 4 over 7. Okay, we also get a decimal of 0.57 or 57 hundredths. Okay, and a percentage of 57%. That means that Lubbock got 57% of the amount of rain that Austin got. Okay, so that's all we're doing, is you're finding data and you're putting it in comparisons or ratios or fractions. Okay, all right, on the back we've got a dot plot now. So this is 3-pointers made per game during the season. So let me be clear about this. This point means that he had one game where he scored, or she scored 0 3-pointers in that game. Okay, move on this one. This means that she had 4 different games, or he had 4 different games where he made 1 3-pointer. So in this game he made 1 3-pointer, this game he made 1 3-pointer, this game he made 1 3-pointer, and so on. And keep going down the line. So this game he had 2 games where he scored 3 3-pointers. He had 2 games where he scored 5 3-pointers. And he had 1 game where he scored 6 3-pointers in a single game. So I want to jump down to how many total 3-pointers did he make during the season. Okay, based off of what we just talked about. So how many 3-pointers did he make during the season? So let's go down. We've got 1 game with 6, so that's 6 3-pointers. We've got 2 games with 5, so that's 10 total. We've got 1 game with 4, so that's 4. We've got 2 games with 3. We've got 3 games with 2. We've got 4 games with 1. And we've got 1 game with 0. Okay, and all we're going to do is add those up. Okay, a total of 36. Okay, I just want to get that out of the way because I know it kind of sounds confusing. Or these dots could be confusing. Okay? Alright, so compare the total number of games where he made 4 or more 3-pointers to the number of games where he made 3 or less. Okay, so let's find the total number of games where he made 4 or more. Okay, so 4 or more. We've got 1 game here, 2 games here, and 1 game here. So a total of 4 or more. We've got 4 games with 4 or more 3-pointers made. Okay, and our second part is to the number of games with 3 or less. So we've kind of split it right down the middle here. So 3 or less. So we've got 2 games here, 3 games here, 4 games here, and 1 game here. So 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so 10 games where he made 3 or less 3-pointers in a game. Okay, that means that I can make different ratios. So I've got a fraction of 4/10. Can I reduce that? That would be yes. So our reduced fraction would be 2 over 5. Okay, and we find the decimal and percentage of that. Okay, if you want to go back to this and change to a decimal, we've got 0.4, and our percentage would be 40%. Okay, and yes, I want you reducing, and I want you finding each form of our comparison, our ratios. Okay, so moving on to the next one. What fraction of the games did he score 3 3-pointers? Okay, what fraction of the games did he score 3 3-pointers? So I've got how many times did he score 3 3-pointers in a game? Okay, so we go to 3 3-pointers in a game. It looks like he scored that twice, 2 different games. Okay, so 2 different games. And how many games did he play? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different games this season. Okay, so 2 games he scored 3 3-pointers out of 14. Okay, I'm going to make that in a simplified fraction. So 2 and 14 both were reduced by 2 to give me 1/7. Okay, like I said before, round to the nearest tenth. So I think it gets close to 14% and 0.14. I know I said tenth, but let's do the hundredth. That way it's easier for us to get our percentage. Okay, we've already done our total 3-pointers of the season. Okay, and the last one. What fraction of his total games did he make less than 2 3-pointers? Okay, so how many times did he make less than 2 3-pointers? We've got less than. So less than does not include these 2 3-pointers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we've already found our total amount of games right here, 14. Okay, can we reduce that? Okay, 5's an odd number, 14's an even number. They won't reduce. Okay, so I'm going to find the percentage, which is pretty close to 36%. So in 36% of his games, he made less than 2 3-pointers in those games. Okay? All right. If you have any questions, let me know.